And boom, baby, we're live. What up? Welcome to Interview with the Man, episode 883. I'm here with Paul Benjamin from Apex Mindset, and we are here to talk about Charlie Kirk, what happened to him yesterday. And, I believe this is a direct cause of incel culture. I'm just going to get straight to it. We're not LARPing for views either. We have been talking about this for a while. I'm here with Paul Benjamin, who is former special ops, and he's actually going to be giving us an insight to, was this an inside job? Was this a pro hit? Was this an amateur hit? Why this was done? Why this exactly happened? And also, as we go into the depths of this, how is this going to change the market in America? This has been a big catastrophic moment for American people everywhere. And I think this is going to change the way women look at men. I think this is going to change the type of men women will be looking for. So we're going to talk about all that. And right now, we're not even going to do an intro video. So I just want to introduce Paul. Paul, welcome aboard. Thanks for helping us out on the show today.
Yeah, man. Pleasure to be here. So are we going to talk? Let's talk about the incident.
Yeah, let's just jump right in.
Yeah. So okay. A bunch of caveats here. I have a bunch of military experiences. All right. I've been in a sniper section before. I've shot various different weapons for the military. There's a lot of people who have a lot more. There's people out there who have more knowledge than I do, and there's people out there who have a lot less knowledge than I do. So just want to be clear there. So I have a fair amount of knowledge, but I'm getting my information, just like you, filtered through the media. So I'm making a judgment based on the information I have. We could find out a week later that information wasn't true, or half of it was true, half of it wasn't. So I'm just going based on what we see right here and what we have. And so I don't have any definitive answers, but I'm going to give you guys some insight. Most of you people listening don't have my experience. So,
yeah, and you did two tours overseas, Iraq and Afghanistan, correct?
3. I spent a total of 40 months.
40 months. 3 tours, right, Afghanistan, Iraq.
Right. And doing combat missions, specialized reconnaissance missions, and intelligence collection as well. My last tour. So yeah, and done. Been in, raids. Done had combat happened. Right. Had done a lot of different stuff. So whatever. It's cool. And I was active in a sniper section in the beginning of my career for a little bit. Again, there's very talented snipers out there who can talk circles around me. But I do have a working knowledge of this stuff. All right. So a couple things like to mention, then we'll just jump right into it. So some things that make me think that it could have been just a well planned out, thought out, average shooter. All right. So here's some things that make that a thing. So if a professional hit, usually they're not going to be on a rooftop where you're going to silhouette. So the thing is, and there's details about this. It's actually clearance level, so I can't talk about it from a security clearance standpoint. All right. It's a risky thing to talk about, but there's ways of shooting where you alter the perception of the sound of where that's being shot from, and you're not leaving a signature, okay, at all. When I say a signature, you're not a silhouette on top of the building. Okay, so just to give an example that it wouldn't violate, operational security, being in a window a couple stories down from a building with the window concealed by curtains, your weapon behind that, you can see out the scope. No, the window and screen is removed and open. Right. And you can see out a scope, see everything that you need to see, but they can't see in or see a reflection of you. So that would be an example of being able to shoot and not leaving a silhouette. When somebody's just laying on top of a building, that's pretty visible from, if you have spotters, like if they had adequate security at the campus, which they did not, in my opinion, you would have spotters that would have seen him. The video footage that scans across and that's filming the incident could zero in and see the guy sitting up there. All right. And same thing like when we looked at the Trump shooter, right? The guy's on a slant on top of it. I mean, the counter snipers saw the dude, right? And there was like gross amount of incompetence there on stopping that incident before it happened. Luckily, Trump's still with us and didn't get killed, right? But as we saw from the guy that was caught there, he's not a pro shooter, right? And so that's a common move for a not pro, is to be silhouetting on top of a rooftop. But there's some other things about it that are interesting that has me sort of wondering some things. One is that they got away. All right. So anybody who understands anything about not that we're giving a class on how to assassinate people, but one thing that it's not difficult to get to somebody, but what is difficult is getting away. Right. And so your most dangerous threat, if you're a high profile figure, is someone who is basically not caring about their own life and will willing to try to, do something to you, and they don't care about their own life. And I'm speaking in a way that's going to be censored for YouTube, if you guys are wondering. Okay. So like the guy that just comes up to you and fires a gun and doesn't care if he gets taken to jail, like he wants that notoriety or he wants to get killed in action. Like that's your most dangerous scenario, because that guy is going to have an easier time getting to you, and he doesn't care about the escaping part. Somebody who has either well planned out or is trained is going to know how to escape. That's the biggest thing for something like this, is can they get out? And right now you have the FBI scrambling to try to build a story, because in my opinion, the FBI is a corrupt organization, and they're going to try to cover their own oh, cool. You got those photos. That's great.
Yeah.
They're going to try to cover their own ass. Right. And they're going to try to come up with a suspect quickly and try to, look competent, kind of put this thing to rest, to try to keep, the public and the civilians under control, really. And they're not doing a good job. They brought in 5 people. Those 5 people are vetted, didn't do it. They claim the reports are saying like yesterday that they caught the person. They didn't catch the person. They had persons of interest, and none of them came out, right? Came at show or anything. They're saying they found a weapon. I don't know if they really found a weapon. They're showing a rifle that is a 30-06 with a bolt action. Maybe, but maybe not. Okay. So the people who are bystanding and listening and who listen to it, although it's hard to tell, and I'll talk about audio in a second, but it's hard to tell from like an iPhone what the sound really is like, you know what I mean, to identify the weapon. But a lot of people reported that they thought it sounded like a 22. 30-06, not a 22. You could have mistaken a 5.56 or 2.23 for a 22, but not necessarily. I mean, 30-06 sound has a different sound to it. I don't know if people really know what they're talking about, right? In terms of the sounds of the weapon. But I will say what does sound like a 22 would be a 308 suppressed. So throw a suppressor on something like a 308. That would sound a little bit more like a 22. Talking about sound now. So that's another thing, like, a bullet, most bullets coming out of rifle travel faster than the speed of sound. So if you're on the receiving end, you're going to
Paul, this is what they're saying it is from right here.
Yeah, this we're saying it is. And I'm not saying it couldn't be that, but I'm just saying, I don't know, right? It's a little suspect that the FBI rushes 5 people. Oh, we found the guy, and then they didn't find the guy. And then, but we found this rifle in the woods. Did you find that rifle in the woods? I don't know, man. I'm a little suspect of any information that comes out right away, because we're not dealing with organizations that tell the truth, and in some cases, they're really not supposed to tell the truth during an investigation. They're supposed to do what's necessary to catch the guy. And sometimes that means, hey, we're not going to disclose that information. Or they may even put out false information to the media to throw somebody off track. So you can't really trust the stories that come out like a day or 2 after. You got to let some time pass to see what is what's really going on and what gets reported and what counter information comes out. And you kind of look at all the information and see what is going to be supported by the most evidence after a few weeks. So again, I'm only using what I can see so far, but I will say, it's a perfect storm of, if this was a well planned out thing, the guy was able to plan a pretty good exit. When you look at those photos, there's parking lots and stuff behind. It'd be very easy to come down off the building, rush. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think about the fact that it perfectly hit him right in the carotid artery, like right there?
Yeah, that's not a hard shot though.
No, I mean, just the wherewithal to know to shoot there, not shoot the head, not shoot the chest. But that's like, is that not like an assassination kind of technique, or?
Not really. I mean, shoot, because you're going to aim head, throat, really, like, it depends. You know what I mean? But in really upper chest, because the problem with the head is the head moves. Do you know what I mean? And so this is why, like in a gunfight, you generally shoot center mass. Sometimes people train even low to shoot lower, like actually take somebody out by shooting them in the hip in a closer gunfight. Because if they have a vest on, it's covering the plates up here in the chest, and they can shatter the pelvic area and take them. Because the idea in a gunfight is you're going to stop them, right? So you're going to take them down quicker. So some people will train that. Headshots with a sniper, yeah. I mean, we do that stuff, but really it's like upper chest is the thing, because the head can move around, right? So if he was aiming upper chest, he was off a little bit, hits him in the artery. I mean, that's a good shot, whatever. And this is why you aim upper chest a lot of times. It was a well-placed shot, but here's the thing: it's only 200 yards, 200 meters. That's a basic qualification score for any private coming out of the Army. So your cook, your supply guy is all made a 200-yard shot. Anybody who's hunted before is taking out a deer, which is how many? I live in Michigan, so that's like thousands of people, right? And they've taken a deer out in a single shot. Could have made this shot. So it's not like the shot was super complex. It was pretty straightforward. That's another thing. Like if he was shooting, shooting through loopholes or shooting like what I mean by that, again, not to disclose too much, but being behind a building or something else, right? So like there's multiple things concealing the origin of that shot. So you could have somebody 3 buildings away, they can see you between stuff. But then when you look out to see where the shot came from, you're seeing the immediate buildings thinking it came from there, but really it was a little bit further away. And so that's a technique a pro would use. This guy was going straight shot from a rooftop. Again, that's not a hard shot to make for an average shooter. I'm not saying somebody who sucks at shooting is going to make it, but an average shooter could make that shot pretty quickly. He wasn't moving around like he was in a stationary spot doing this thing. So it wasn't like he was on the move. He wasn't Kennedy in a motorcade or something, right? Like, so the shot isn't what really makes me think, oh, this is a pro. It's more the being able to get out of there, right? It's the exfil and extraction portion of the mission is always the most dangerous a lot of times and the hardest part. And that's the part where people get caught. That's the part where people fuck up. This day and age with like cameras and all kinds of stuff, it's hard to get out of somewhere without being seen. So that makes me think, now this happened in Iowa, correct?
No, this happened in Utah, and I want to.
My bad. I keep wanting to say Utah, right? So Utah. No, at the university in Utah, okay. There's a percent. It's not like you're in the middle of like Chicago. Do you know what I mean? Like, or Detroit, even, right? Where there's a high crime rate. They're gonna be lower security posture just because psychologically they think they're safer there. Do you know what I mean? So like they don't have as many cops to, like, if you had Chicago PD, you know what I mean? They would have cops everywhere and maybe a SWAT team ready for some shit to happen. In Utah, they got some local cops near that university. And then whatever Charlie Kirk's security team was, which that's not going to be real extensive.
And there's also some other stuff I wanted to add was they have now this comes from the New York Times, but I don't know, Paul. I'm so jaded. None of this stuff is all too convenient. Apparently on the casings, this is the quote from New York Times. There was something about anti-fascism and trans.
That was the trans thing. That was the one. So now here's this, and you made an interesting point before we started. Like, could this be a psyop? And like they're trying to frame essentially the woke people, right? Like trying to kind of frame them in a way. I'm sure leftist woke junkies would love that narrative. I'm not saying it's not possible, but here's the thing. You had what's its name? I'm bad with the names. Mangione or whatever, the guy who killed the CEO, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of leans into the whole incel thing. Girls, especially left woke drug addict idiot girls, right? That these guys love, right? The incel leftists that are confused about their sexuality and have no emotional self-control, and they also have no women, right, in their lives. So those guys, right, that simp for women and are male feminists and all that stuff, and Antifa type of a guys, right? They look at the fact that these girls around them worship Mangione. They think he's the hottest dude since Brad Pitt in the 90s, man. Like they think he's a hot dude. They want to have his babies, right? Because he's a guy who's basically not fat. He's like a 5'6" king, right? But he's not fat, has decent facial features, and he's a murderer. And women like psychopaths. So they worship this guy. So naturally, somebody who's going to follow shooting for an ideology is going to follow some of that same stuff. And it's been a trend to write these little messages on bullets and stuff like that. I think the Trump guy did the same thing. So this is just following a trend, really.
He did not do that. That was the first time. First mainstream case was the Mangione thing. Mangione, I believe, but this, I mean, even if it's another copycat, it stinks. And then there's one more thing that everybody's been talking about, which I want to factor into your decision making. I'm going to review it. Paul's not seen this before, but this is another thing. So a private jet under the tail number N888KG left Provo Airport. That's about 20 minutes from the shooting location, an hour after the shooting. Suspiciously, 30 minutes into the flight, it turned off its ADSB. That's like a tracking radar, illegally, and then reappeared heading back to Provo approximately an hour later. This is what people have been tracking as well. So you're supposed to keep this on. I saw this one, but I don't know if it's true, but I saw this post here. Somebody said it had connections to Israel. I don't know why this plane with ties to Israel. I don't know if that's real, though. That's just, it could be some kind of random account. But
yeah,
that was another thing that people have caught the attention. And then, like, it's really sus that they haven't caught this guy, in my opinion.
Well, sus or just the guy had a well-planned exfil. And that's the thing. Which that is sus as far as, was it somebody who is better trained? Because civilians are not really trained on how to exfil. So either it's somebody who just was really planned out and they've been planning this for a while, which I don't know how early the announcements are for Kirk to be doing his speaking engagements. If they knew several months in advance and they scoped out this place, it's the perfect storm for the perfect sort of crime like this.
Yeah, he was on a called the American Comeback Tour, so this was planned out.
Yeah, so somebody had advanced notice, had opportunity to recon this whole situation, knowing, I mean, it's not like a president that's going to speak at a university, so the security is not going to be that extensive. Whatever they report, I'm sure his team will talk about how extensive they are, but they're just not. They're not the Secret Service. Do you know what I mean? They're not taking the measures that you would take for like a standing president or something like that. So there's a lot of opportunities for stuff to happen here. And then the escape part, when you look at a map, the university nuts up to a highway, which is a short drive. I think it's less than 10 minutes from an airport. So, I mean, whether it's a private jet or just, hey, I'm going to freaking, Mexico and here's my ticket, and you're just a civilian with a bag, nobody's going to notice or stop that flight. By the time everybody sorts themselves out and really starts looking for this person who killed you, you're on a plane and you're gone if you're smart. And so if this person planned an exfil like that, they're not going to find him. I'm actually going to wonder.
An exfil, for you guys who means it, an exfiltrate means how to get out.
Get out. Yeah. So
because the hardest part of killing somebody isn't killing them; it's getting away with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's running away and getting free.
Right.
But again, I just I don't know, man. This is the government has so much information on us. They have access to all of our cell phones. They have access to everything. And you're telling me they haven't found this guy? I don't believe it.
Yeah. I think here's the problem though. It's actually easier because of it's easier than you think to get away with stuff if you know not to leave a digital signature. You know, that's the thing. If a guy has a burner phone that's a prepay that he bought, you know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't have a cell phone with him hanging out, you know, like he doesn't have to. If you're a smart person doing something like this, you don't have a cell phone with you when you're in your shooter position. Do you know what I mean? You might have one waiting in a car nearby, and that one is also a burner phone. And so as long as you have a burner phone and you're not leaving a digital imprint, this is why the Afghans were difficult in some ways for us to find certain people. Although I'm pretty sure we knew where Bin Laden was a lot longer than we let off before we took him out. But you know, it's like they're like these cave dwellers are pretty smart about not leaving a digital signature so they can be difficult to find. You know what I mean? We didn't find Saddam Hussein in a day either. Now, of course, that was a long time ago, but we do have a lot of tools and stuff to get people. But if you just don't leave a digital signature, you can get it. You're not leaving a digital signature. You can get away. And here's the problem too. Like, because everyone's being tracked, it's too much information. So the struggle is, out of thousands and thousands of people or a few million people in the area, who are you looking at? Who are you watching? Do you know what I mean? So if somebody is just not posting dumb things online or doing things to, you know what I mean, to spotlight themselves, they're not going to know. They're not going to know to find that information to track who it is necessarily. It's one of those things, like, because everyone's being tracked, nobody's being tracked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure the FBI doesn't know some dirty shit I texted to my girlfriend earlier today or yesterday, right? I'm sure they don't know, because if they could know, they could get into my phone, I'm sure, find out. But, you know, there's too many phones to go through. You know what I mean? So if he was able to conceal himself that way, he's gone. He ain't going to find this guy. You know what I'm saying? Unless he's got that ego and wants to and needs some notoriety. Good luck, man. You know what I'm saying? There's serial killers all over the fucking world right now that don't get caught.
Yeah, that's crazy. But like that, I don't know, man. I don't know. My instincts just don't think this was some smart fucking Democrat guy.
I'm open for yeah, I get it. I'm open for it being something else too.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
I'm just saying, like, there's things that could point to it being possibly something more conspiratorial. There's also things that kind of point to the fact that maybe it's not. So I just kind of waiting for more information to come out to see what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the engravings, the fact that the Wall Street Journal already has this. They're like, oh, they have these things. It's leftist messaging on the fucking engravings. Like,
yeah.
So let's okay. So obviously, you know, God bless Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace. That is just devastating. He was only 31 and he just had a baby, like literally like like less than a month ago, I believe. He had a new baby. You know, the wife is now a widow. The child watched him die in real life. This is just sick, evil, disgusting behavior. But we need to talk about why it happened. And, you know, I think, in my opinion, because I've just moved back to America, I've been living in Japan for quite some time. And, you know, just got to call a spade a spade. There's a lot of mentally unhealthy people in America, stemming from broken families, stemming away from traditionalism, and broken families in America are an all-time high. And you're seeing all this quite literally psychotic behavior from people, and this is not okay. And what Charlie represented, was a call back to traditionalism. He was a Christian. You know, he was a good guy. I know he had some haters, but he had a lot of pull. He had a lot of female fans too. He had a lot of women that are like wanting to be, I want to be conservative woman. I want to be a Christian woman. He was
Sure.
he was a white identity like defender too. Like he believed that you should, like, white people shouldn't just be forsaken in America because it's our homeland. Like, it's our homeland. Like, you know, people are trying to, you know, strip away what made
Shouldn't
America.
be embarrassed about what race they are and feel a sense of shame because of something that somebody did a couple 100 years ago or something, right? Yeah,
It's
so great.
crazy. It's
Right,
crazy. White people, this is the home of white people in America. You're not going to displace white people in their own home. That's just insane. And he was talking about just sticking up for, you know, having some white pride in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, even saying that, people are like, what do you mean white pride? You're gonna lynch a bunch of minorities?
I just got
No.
your channel banned again.
I know, right? You know, but like I think I just don't trust the government at all. I don't trust the media at all. And the
Yeah.
fact that the government and the media are kind of already trying to paint this narrative pretty quickly, this just does stink. And in my opinion, I think that the pendulum is swinging backwards, but we're getting a pullback. I think that the election was definitely, they stole the election 2020. They are fighting the human spirit that is trying to come back to normalcy, in my opinion.
They are, because you have crazy people who, and we can get into the crazies and what that's all about, but we have these crazy people who have indoctrinated themselves with craziness and have a way that they want to sort of see the world, and it's all very selfish and self-serving. I mean, what a boy! If they're not trying to save, they're not trying to feed the hungry and give to the poor. They're trying to take for themselves. That's at the end of it. They don't have shit, so they want shit. You know what I mean? And then there's people who do have things that will capitalize off of that, and that's your more elite, wealthy.
I want to add one more thing too, to before we move on. Also, right after Charlie Kirk situation happened, there was a mass shooting in a college in Colorado, and then right now at University of Massachusetts, there's another shooting happening right now.
It's pretty, so that's interesting, right? And these copycats, or what's going on here? Is there some dark web, like organized, semi-organized attempt at something? What's going on, right? So, and these are all questions that are interesting to ask. I know what a lot of people will do, which I'm shy away from being on the internet, but what a lot of people will do.
Shut up and take my money.
For having such a serious conversation. Shut up and take my money. But what a lot of people will do, right, for clout, is they're going to make a claim as if it's true, without enough evidence to back it up. So somebody's on the internet right now saying it's a government conspiracy or something, right? And I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but I'm saying that we need to let the evidence show what it likely is. Like, we know something's up with the Epstein, stuff, right? We know that, right? And it's been going on for a while, and we've been concealing who's been going to the island, what they're going to the island for. Like, that's pretty obvious that there's something wrong with the Epstein file stuff, right? But we've had a lot of time to sort of sort that out and go and figure out what evidence kind of builds or points to that idea. We don't, in something like this, we barely know anything. There's a lot of self-interest here. There's self-interest by the media. See, people need to understand what the media does nowadays. They're not reporting facts or the news. They're not even reporting facts or the news in a way where they're just trying to get your attention through sensationalism. And that's just beyond that. They recognize that their audience has a certain way of thinking, and so they're trying to develop or appeal to that way of thinking, so like MSNBC has a lot of left-leaning people. They're going to report the news and promote ideas that are going to feel good to their audience, and that's going to keep that engagement. And so they're trying to promote leftist ideas, you know what I mean, in the media, and promote and push these things. Like, and you'll get stupid stuff. Like, somebody right off the bat, one of the lefty news channels was like, well, I think somebody could have just been, probably people were celebrating and shooting their guns in celebration, and he just got hit. Because see, to a leftist, people at people at an event like this shoot guns like everywhere to celebrate, like they're the freaking Taliban or something, and accidentally shoot each other. So to an anti-gun leftist person, that makes sense to them. They didn't want to look at the fact that this is probably an assassination from somebody who's a left-leaning person that believes in the things they believe in.
Yeah.
You know?
Whether if it was a planned job or not, this was a leftist person that did this. This is 100% coming from a leftist.
Is it a leftist person supported by government interests and, corporate interests to sort of sway people away from Trump and conservatives and some of the things that have been going on there? Or is it just a crazy person who's internet brained and didn't like the opinions of this guy?
And speaking of like crazy person, I want to just, what Paul said, I just want to show everybody exactly what is happening right now, because this is actually the result. These are some people and how they're responding to this. Take a quick look at this.
Oh, yeah. No sound, buddy.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull this up right now. There has been a very
let's look at the internet psychopathy that's going on from the people who are celebrating this event.
Can you hear that?
That's probably what I imagine you're going to show here. There's no sound still, though.
Chat, is there no sound?
Yeah, there's no sound.
1 second. Let me just double check here.
You should have that thing clicked to allow you to do the sound.
No sound. Okay, got you. Okay, I got it. Okay, here we go. Chat, give me, let us know.
Bro.
There you go.
I'm
Yep.
never happier.
Never believe the reason I'm smiling. And it has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. Nothing to do with Charlie Kirk.
I would say pour one out for Kirky boy, but I don't waste good beer on little bitches.
I haven't posted on TikTok in a long time, but I'm gonna now because rest in peace, Bozo!
Charlie Kirk just got put down like a fucking dog in Utah, and I could not be happier. Praise fucking be.
I do not, and I will not ever feel bad when bad people get what the fuck they deserve.
Charlie Kirk got shot? That's awful. That's so sad. Hope he recovers well.
I just heard that someone shot Charlie Kirk? Dang it. Ah, shucks.
If I believed in dictatorship, these people would be in cages.
Bro.
Well, I just think so. It's two sides to the coin here. One, there's always be dumb people. Now they have social media access, and so we're just showing them that. But I think with Double Axe wrote here, America's a nation of lost souls, because I think, rewind this 50 years ago, I don't think you'd have anything like that. It would be a way smaller minority. But what's happening now, this is all going back to the broken family, period. Everything that's messed up right now in America is because of the broken family, the divorces, the crazy glazing that the United States does to women 24/7, 365, that has, made them very, very delusional. And the average guy now is not getting laid. This guy right here, whoever did this, if it wasn't some inside job, but this is a direct cause of incel culture. And this has happened in the past before as well. Incel culture is definitely to blame, because if this guy, whoever he did it, right, assuming he wasn't a, some dark web person, dark ops person, whatever, this radicalization of men has happened in the past before. What are your thoughts when we say, because you have a lot of experience, you're a licensed therapist as well. What do you think about incel culture? How's this related? Because I think personally, from my perspective, is there are a lot of disenfranchised young men right now, and they are, they're a little bit more emotional. And I think that's because of there's less fathers around, less masculinity around.
Right.
The men are more emotionally unstable. And when you're emotionally unstable, you're going to have a bad time in life. And I think what they're doing is they're not taking accountability for what's going on in their lives. And then they get caught in the web of, Republican, Democrat, whatever. And then they start justifying their shortcomings via politics. And that causes them to radicalize.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that we'll start with men with no access to sex and women. Okay.
Right.
It is not a mystery that when you have a society of men who don't have access to women, really, for whatever reason that is, that creates a violent society, creates violent men. This is why, like, a harem society tends to be more of a violent society. And our evolution went from tribalist, polyamorous tribes that were led by men. So women were not in charge and banging everyone. Dudes were figuring it out and pawning off girls to, accordingly. But once we got into, agriculture, and with the agricultural revolution, we were able to spend more time on building stuff and inventing things and all that. And that put us into like city-state environments. Our next move was harems. So you would have a guy who usually could fight, and defend off and lead, right? That would have his little thing, right, with his little castle, his little community or whatever, and he would have multiple women. And then you would have a large amount of guys who didn't have any women. This has been proven, vetted pretty well in evolutionary psychology. Now you go to places like Afghanistan, where most guys don't have access to women except for only the most dominant or wealthy men. This is why men join the Taliban. This is why men join in war and get in this warring culture. They fight each other. They don't have access to women, so they're going to have to try to do, and they don't have access to resources or opportunity because they're not like the United States where you could start a business online or do whatever. They don't have economic opportunity either to pull themselves out. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to use violence and climb up the ladder that way. So men are trying to climb up social ladders to have access to mating, to have access to women. So you put us in a culture where we're at now, where we become internet brained, and guys get conditioned very early on to do all the things that make them unattractive to women, right? Starting with early onset pornography from free porn from the younger guys, 9, 10, 11 years old. Parents aren't watching what they're doing. They're on porn, right? They're blowing their receptors out, their brain out, having erectile dysfunction in their 20s. They're getting into their emotions. Masculinity is being demonized. So women, so they think, well, in order for me to have their mammalian brains are thinking, in order for me to have access to mating, I have to appeal to these women. And these women have blue hair and septum piercings, and they're screaming about, misogyny and the patriarchy. What do you think these guys do? They just jump right onto that. They don't have access either. All right. You'll have the few core sort of chads of the leftist that will have access to women. And then the vast majority of these guys are goofy, simpy guys with no access. And so they radicalize. Now, the internet and social media promotes what I call internet induced psychopathy. Okay. So we have a natural ability to connect with other people that are of the same species and recognize another human being and have some sympathy and empathy for that person. So now if you look at like On Killing by Grossman, stuff like that, how do we train soldiers to kill? Part of that is to get soldiers to demonize the enemy. So now, you had Charlie back in the day versus this Vietnamese guy who has a family at home. You know what I mean? You would come up with a name, Haji, back in the Iraqi war days, right? You come up with a term, a name, a thing that demonizes the other side, makes them not human. Well, the internet does that for you because you're not talking to a human being who's in front of you, who you can sense their their emotions, their facial expressions, learn about who they are. You're talking to some avatar at the end of a screen. You don't know if that person has a family, what their parents are like, whether they're a good person, whether they're a bad person. You're just talking to another person. And then we're tribal, so we crawl into our little camps. And so now the left person is talking to the right person. They're not really people in their mind, and they're just saying horrible things to each other. It would be psychopathic. You would never do that to a person in front of you. Well, they're training their brains to do that at a young age, and they're training to treat another side, somebody you don't agree with this dehumanization. So there's all these people on TikTok. They don't consider Charlie Kirk a human being with family and kids who just had a different opinion than they did. They think he is a non-person, and that's the way they respond, because most people are low IQ. Let's face it. They're, someone with 90 IQ maybe or less, they're not seeing it. Do you know what I mean? And they don't, and so they get in this thing, and this is where the solution is, if we're going to get into solutions yet, is that we have to crush people who do these sorts of things when they cross a line. Now, if they want to post their crappy TikTok, free speech, that's fine.
Yeah.
If they're going to go in public, though, and create a social disruption and block cars, roll them up, club them in the head, throw them in a cage. You know what I'm saying? If they're going to wreck stores and steal stuff, don't do like what California does and stand by and go, no, let him do it. Let him steal stuff from the Apple store like Chicago and LA did. No, crack them over the head, put them in a cage, slap them with a criminal charge. We got to start treating it seriously, because when people can get away with the smaller stuff, then that leads to them doing bigger stuff.
It emboldens them. It's like when you stop somebody from bullying you, like, it starts with them saying some mean things to you, then it's a shoulder shove, and then it's maybe a punch, and then next thing you know, your 3 people are beating you up. You have to stop it like immediately. Logan Duong, my Asian son, $5 super chat. He says the info Paul is preaching will save you from getting brainwashed into enslaving yourself. Absolutely. I just think, like I said, right now in America, we're at an all-time high for sexlessness. If this gunman, were having a nice, loving woman at home, giving a blowjob, telling him he's an alpha male, whatever, he would be like, hey, I think I'll figure it out. I got a girl. I don't need to go shoot Charlie Kirk.
I think women could sort of save the West if they would just lay back and open their mouths, right? Like, it's like, like, hey, honey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna go and visit a strip mall tomorrow. Like, right? Save us.
Well, I just think I think they need to kind of lower their standards, but I think the genie's out of the bottle right now.
Yeah.
There have been points in history that I want to really bring up real quick. So this happened in Weimar, Germany. What's happening right now in America is also what happened in Weimar, Germany. This was after they were defeated in World War I. And there's a lot of very similar parallels, because we are in this cycle right now. We are at the beginning of I hate to be so negative, but it is what it is. We're the beginning of the collapse of this culture and this society, because this sexlessness, I've researched it. Like I said, since I came back to America, it's just been very, very weird. There's like a cold war between men and women here.
Yes.
And, the women here are very vicious. America is the only place in the world where you'll walk up to a group of women in a nightclub and they'll be like, fuck you, get the fuck away from me. And like extremely nasty, grotesque, and aggressive. And with sexlessness being at an all-time high now, this is similarly happening in Weimar Republic, Germany, after they lost World War II. So what they ended up happening was guys began to get politically radicalized. And the Nazis party saw that this group of men were, disenfranchised, and they leveraged the narratives, revival of like traditional roles and everything, which is kind of what's happening now. And that led to Nazi Germany.
Yeah, well, and once the Nazis started doing their thing and taking the soldiers had so much control in the areas that they were doing it in that women would try to get with them just to not get, persecuted or not be on the wrong side, so to speak, and then when they would go into other countries, they would basically take women whether they liked it or not. You know what I'm saying? So like you took these guys, and if you do some research, fill them with a bunch of drugs too, because they had methamphetamines over the counter, seriously, and then throw them in another country where they can just take the women with no, like didn't have the oversight back then. Like our military, we have a ton of oversight. Like you're going to go to Leavenworth if you do some stuff like that in our military, rightfully so. Right. But they didn't have that kind of stuff there. They were encouraged to do stuff like that. And so, I'm not saying we're going to have money. We're not going to I don't think it'll be an exact repeat of Germany, but we're having a lot of the same trends that we need to do something as the men who run society. Right. We need to do something about that. And that's our audience is mostly men. I'm not trying to disenfranchise women here because you're part of it too, but our audience is mostly men. And so what can you do as a man about this? And,
let's talk about that because I want to talk about the fourth part of the segment because this is connected to, so we're here now, we are heading to a trajectory. And I've been saying this for a while. The average guy in America, the biggest battle every American man battles in this time and culture is his fear. He's afraid of women. He's afraid of standing up for himself. He's just a coward. And that's the worst thing you could be as a man because it's a guaranteed life of hell every day, day in and day out. Now, that being said, this has led to American women even having terrible behaviors overseas to the point that they're getting arrested for their behaviors overseas because nobody even is checking them here in America.
Right. Yeah. And then they go, you have celebrities getting thrown in jail for dumb things. Right. So
we're at this point now. I don't see this cooling off. This, if anything, if they catch this guy needs to be like shot in public, quite frankly. But because if he gets away, this is just going to embolden the left.
Correct.
And more people like this. So where do you think we're heading now in regards to America, the culture, and the cultural forecast, if you will?
Well, I think, we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see an initial reaction and a longer reaction. So the initial reaction is people are going to call for revolution. People are going to be really up in arms right now about the Charlie Kirk thing. You're getting, this is a positive sign, but you are getting from the left a lot of people condemning the shooter and condemning what's going on. So everyone from, to give them some credit, everyone from Obama, Biden, Harris, like all the major players on that political party posted on their Twitter after the shooting, like, this is not okay, and heart, whatever stuff out to the family and all that kind of stuff. Right. So that's a good sign. They're not like the people who are celebrating it are these idiots who are these internet brain failures. But what's going to happen in a week or two is we're all going to forget about it. I find it really interesting, but then there's a longer term effect. So the short term effect is we're going to temporarily forget. All right. So people are going to be up in arms right now. And then because everyone's social media brained and they don't have an attention span more than a goldfish, by next week, it'll be the next thing, maybe 2 weeks from now, for a lot of people. And that happened, interestingly enough, with the Trump assassination attempt. That's a big deal, dude. Having a sitting president get almost killed that close, grazing his ear, like that should have been talked about a lot longer than it was. And you notice how quickly we just forgot about that one. So I think, though, what's going to happen is people are going to temporarily forget, but then the left's going to be empowered and do more crazy. I think people are also tired of the crazy stuff. A good sign was, and this is a much smaller thing, but you and I were talking about it, so I'll mention it. The baseball Karen incident, right? You have this woman, and this goes back to what I'm saying. You have this woman who's been emboldened for years, right, to act like a crazy person in public, and nobody checks her because she has a vagina and because she's a Karen. So nobody checks her. People will laugh about it and talk about it, but nobody says, hey, if you don't get out of my face, we're going to have you dragged out of here. She went along around that game. According to reports, there were other photos of her getting in dudes' faces. I couldn't imagine, as a man, even as a man who could physically damage other men, getting into faces of guys and not having at least at some point security or police dragging my ass out, right? Like, at the very least, if I don't have some guys trying to stand up for me, but guys are kind of weak now, so they might not stand up to me, but they definitely are calling the cops on me. I'm definitely being dragged out. If I ran up to some woman who got a baseball instead of me and grabbed her by the arm and got in her face, do you know what I mean? And made her give me the ball back, I would be dragged out by the police. I would be charged with a crime. But we let these women do this stuff, and we just, well, it's a woman. What are you going to do? You know, like, she's a boss, bitch. What can
Weak
you do?
mindset, very weak mindset, extremely
Right, exactly. And it's that kind of stuff that emboldens worse behavior from incels, and incels who are especially those confused about what gender they should identify with, are watching some woman get away with stuff, and then they get away with it. If it's not Karen at a baseball game, it's some lady at a fast food restaurant in the inner city.
Bro, they're everywhere. Guys need to stand up. It's out of control. This whole situation is due to masculinity being cast aside in America, putting feels before logic, and now here we are. Because what is good times create good times create weak men create bad times create strong men create good times. So we're on the decline right now. I don't think a lot of people realize this, because I've done research and I've talked to a lot of people, but it just doesn't seem to jump out at them. But the sexlessness in America is going to be the beginning of the end, because the only thing that I'm hoping can pacify the growing need of human connection here in the United States of America, as crazy as this sounds, like, it just seems to be like maybe AI robots and sex robots in the next 2 to 3 years. Because I've noticed two things. One, I've noticed almost every woman that I show AI to is intimidated by it.
Mm-hmm.
Every chick. As soon as I pull out the Grok, the little AI girlfriend that they have on Grok, Annie, as soon as I pull that out and I talk, I've showed every kind of woman, multiple ages, multiple, races and everything, multiple countries, and universally, this AI anime girlfriend makes them get very, very intimidated.
Yeah. So we're gonna really go,
because I don't see the sexlessness problem being solved. Nobody's talking about how this is fucking everything up. This is all related to people being frustrated, people not being in families, not being in, traditional conservative ideas, like being married, staying married, having children, wanting society. I think this is because there's a lot of childless women, the millennial class. You want society to be better for your child. This is not safe. This is not okay. We are not going the right direction.
Yeah. So I think this is a really interesting thing, and I'm gonna just do a sci-fi brain dump right now, since we're talking about these AI things. This is just a hypothesis, okay? But you made this interesting comment actually when we were talking a few weeks ago, right? So what you have is a shift in the economy in our culture, where we've moved from a labor-based economy to a internet-based economy, right? And technology-based.
Shut up and take my money.
From the outside, brought them inside. So what happened then? Everybody, on average, got out of shape. Okay. So now obesity, men and women, obesity epidemic.
Yeah.
So with that, what do you have?
The difference in food. High fructose corn syrup is virtually in everything. And he's already on it, divorce, because we've been talking about it on the channel. $2 super. He says this is the supply side problem. Import vegetables. Yeah. The biggest problem in America is there's so many fat girls, and that guys don't want to date these fat chicks. So you have the majority of men in America chasing about less than 30% of the female population, and they're trying to get money. They're trying to give them everything, resources, jobs, connections. You see celebrity rappers getting
Simping for OnlyFans girls,
telling I need a $500,000 car to like you.
just which goes to show status doesn't mean game, fellas. Don't let the internet and some of these male masculinity coach guys lie to you. You have to learn relationship skills. You have to learn game. You have to understand frame. If you're a multimillionaire, you're going to be a multimillionaire simp. If you don't have those things, you're going to be miserable. But back to that point that you're making, which is a very good one. Yeah, you have a smaller percentage of mateable women, and they get tons of attention and resources thrown at them. And then they're only picking certain guys to have sex with. So you have all these sexless men. They're throwing attention at any piece of vagina that comes their way. So now you have this massive simp economy, simping problem, right? And so girls have inflated egos. Everybody appeals to them. We let them act crazy, okay, and act emotionally unhinged with no consequence. And then men are being told that by being masculine, that's a problem. So they're being less masculine and being more feminine, right? And so this whole thing is happening. Now, you drop AI girlfriends in there. That's going to take probably half. They're already porn addicted, but what they're addicted to is spending money on sending money to internet girls, all right? So that's going to get half of those guys are going to get absorbed by AI, right? And so that's going to take them out and pacify them essentially. And then you're going to have this other half that's still going to simp, but now the simp economy shifts to AI rather than regular women. So regular women now don't have the power in the sexual marketplace. There's less of that simping going on. And so that's going to get them to start to behave a little bit differently. What you also have too is just a high amount of unhappiness. So when you look at satisfaction rates in general, they're lower. Even though we have more resources than we've ever had, things are easier than they've ever been. Homeless and poor people are fat because they get food. So in a place like the United States, and I'm not saying, but people are more miserable than ever before. And they've created prisons. We've created prisons for themselves in terms of government handouts and in internet-based economy. So, in that prison, okay, there's going to be people wanting to escape that. Women are realizing that they can't act like 304s when they're younger, stick the landing in a marriage and then be happy when they're in their 30s. They're getting married in their 30s, miserable in the marriages, much because of how they polluted their brains 10 years prior or whatever. And then they're getting divorced. They're miserable in their divorces. And that's been my generation and the millennials, especially, that have been doing this. Now the younger generation is looking around them going, wow, these ladies that are older are miserable. They're not happy. And so you're seeing a lot of the younger girls shift more towards, can I just get a good guy to marry? And I just want to be a submissive girl. Please come save me. And so you're going to have this way. You have this growing cohort of these conservative influencers and women now trying to be this good wife and do all those things. So you're going to see a resurgence of that too. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of options and people are going to gravitate towards their options. I think there's going to be violence. I think there's going to be problems, but I'm hoping that we as a society can turn that around and start squashing that violence and locking it up. So at least locking people up, like protesters who are violently protesting, for example, so things don't go that far. If we can at least do that much, guys in your community, guys in my community, they're going to have girls. And those girls are going to be happy. They want families. They're going to have families. They're going to have kids. They're going to have a good life, but they're going to do it on their terms. Like for me, for example, I have you've been to my house. I got a pretty decent life over here and I create a bubble around myself. So I'm insulated from all this crap. So the answer for the individual listening to us is to create this bubble around themselves, to be insulated from all the bullshit, and to make themselves economically viable so that they, if things shift or go south here, they can go somewhere else for a little while and keep their circle intact, whether it's their kids, their girlfriend, whatever it is, the girl that they have in their life, the women, plural, if they got plural, you know, and just kind of keep their bubble. And if you keep a bubble in a frame that is based on, you know, good principles of how to live your life, good moral principles, good ethics, treating each other kindly, and you just do that in your bubble, that'll resonate to others around you. So that's, you're doing an impact in the world, but it'll also save your own ass. And that's the key. Women need to gravitate towards men who are dominant enough, willing to stand up for themselves and protect themselves and create that bubble around them. You know,
I want to connect that to everything, because I want to kind of go back to where America's heading. So, but I want a concrete answer from you.
Yeah,
I have one. But do you think the sexlessness problem in America is going to improve in the next 5 years, or is it going to get worse?
Oh, I think it's going to get worse.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the potential violence will get absorbed in AI. So we talk about the negative effects of porn. The reason why porn is a negative effect is because it basically pacifies men and it makes them less likely to solve their problems, whether it's financial, whether it's with girls, whether it's social, right? They're basically numbing their dopamine system and their reward system through pornography. That's why we talk against porn. But one caveat on porn, and I'm not saying like it's positive, it's bad for the individual. But one thing it has done, though, is it's pacified society. So where you have available porn, you have less guys going out doing violent shit. If they're jerking off to porn 4 hours a day, they're probably not shooting up a school or graping women, right? So that's with you add AI into it, I think the violence will get pacified into that. And that's going to be very
my money,
guys, though. But what they're being tempted with, to use a little bit of Christian thought here, not saying I'm a crazy Bible thrower, okay? But hear this out. It's that great temptation of like something like, come do this thing. And then you're like, yeah, you go with that temptation and then you find yourself in hell. You know what I mean? It's going for that, we could say, sinful or short-term answer to a problem, that try to take that shortcut. And you got that offer on the table to go do that. The sex doll's pretty cheap. Put this suit on and put this AI thing on, have an AI girlfriend. That'll solve your problems, you know? And then guys will find themselves in a lonely hellscape. If you're not socially connected with others and doing something to benefit others, you're going to go crazy, because we're social animals. So we're designed to do that. Our mental health is stable when we have social connections, even if they're tight and smaller, you know, even if a guy just sticks to his own family, that's still other social animals in his little pack of animals that he gets to take care of, lead. They take care of him, right? Like there's this exchange. We're not designed to be alone in a room by ourselves, and a bunch of computerized simulations of connections is only going to lead guys into a hellscape. And so I think the violence might not necessarily increase. It'd probably stay the same. If not, it might even go down. But what you're going to run into is the sexlessness is going to go up, and guys are going to start checking out of the economy.
They already are.
Yep.
Because everything.
Shut up and take my money.
Everything a guy does, 95% of it is to get sex. But when you take sex off the table as an option, like so it's over. Society's going to collapse. And so another thing is this, and I just feel, because I know the truth, that I have to talk about this.
I mean, as we know it is going to collapse. It's just a matter of what that looks like.
Well, another thing is no society has ever recovered from this. Once you head into this downward spiral of sexlessness, everything goes to shit. Everything goes to shit. So remember to read these super chats real quick. Diversitas in Unite, $10 super chat. I think the problem is we don't acknowledge that women's eggs once a month. Dude is pushing out millions of fighters in a single day. I think nations should produce men to women in 30-70 ratio to balance. That would be nice. My Truth, $5 super chat. Cavi foretold society will bifurcate two economical eco-viable guys versus not, and gals will either get wifed by worthy guy versus turn to cat ladies with fur babies. Okay, yeah. Well, the thing is, the way things are working right now, the way things are heading with society, what I think is going to happen too is this is rattling a lot of women seeing this guy get killed, and I am
have more dateable women in a few generations. I feel like,
yeah, because I think what's happening is the reality of life is kind of being shown through right here. I think a lot of girls may have seen yesterday and be like, you know what, I do need a boyfriend. Like I can't just sit here and bad talk men. No one's going to protect me. Right. And as things continue to get worse, you know, it's because women are feeling it right now. You see women talk about it on social media. Nobody's approaching them. No one's talking to them. Yep. But also nobody's telling them that the majority of them are just like very insufferable and like,
just they're not getting that check of accountability, that social accountabilintability from the right sources in the right way. And that's the problem. But yeah, I mean, I think,
and guys, go ahead and hit the like button too while you're at it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Because we got over 400 people watching right now on all platforms.
My channel, guys. You have all the subscribers. They come over to me too.
Check out Paul Benjamin, Apex Mindset. Hit that like, hit that comment. Yeah. We got some updates here real quick. I just want to, so these are some news. President Trump decided to speak on this, and take a look at this real quick. So I have a couple things I want to show you and ask you about, Paul.
As a trained assassin, usually your instincts are always
on. Can you turn that volume up?
I think progress is being made. He's an animal, total animal. And hopefully they'll have him and they'll get him. What he did is disgraceful. Charlie Kirk was a great person, a great man, great in every way, especially with youth. And what he did, what this man did, was disgraceful. So hopefully we'll have him and we will deal with him very appropriately.
So that's not very reassuring, first of all. And then we got something. So for some reason, I don't know why, but Netanyahu had something to say about this whole situation. Let's hear what he has to say. He has something to say.
He wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And, you know, this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, you know, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
Oh boy. And the final one I want to show you here, because this, Paul, we didn't really touch on this, but I want to touch on it now. You talked about how the women are kind of getting a little bit more unhinged in the West as well. And this is what Ilhan Omar had to say about him, who she's part of the group of Somalis up there that recently just got caught cheating in the Minnesota election, and they had to pull that guy out as the potential candidate. Take a look here.
This is the last question to you, Congresswoman. Dr. Monica Joy Cross says, how do we fix this? This is a persistent problem. Are there answers?
The answer is not to allow this the hateful rhetoric to find the audience that it finds. I mean, one of Charlie's last tweets that I read was a video clip of him. I think in that clip he talked about you and said, Muslims are like bringing an ideology and teaming up with trans and like socialists.
But this is the last question to you, Congresswoman. Dr. Monica Joy Cross says,
so just
so she's blaming his rhetoric for the murder. You see, like that's how crazy they are.
Yeah.
Support her. Where's call ICE right now? Jesus Christ.
So,
yeah, and that's insanity, right? And this is why we need to stand up for our principles for as long as we're going to be here. I mean, I want to make the point, like Rome fell, right? But we still have Italy, and we still have the countries that existed in some of those things after it fell. It's not like the human race eradicates from the earth. It's just the structure that we have falls as we know it, and then something else comes in place. And so you just have to be prepared to make that something else be the thing that you want to live in. You know what I mean? And it starts with you, and it starts with, you going out and taking action and having real relationships with real people, getting off the internet and creating a life for yourself. Because if you don't actively, there's no American dream anymore where you get a house and 2 cars and a wife at home and a bunch of kids, and you go to your factory job and your job supports your lifestyle. Like that doesn't exist anymore. You have to go out and create it. You're not going to accidentally have a good relationship anymore because people are too screwed up in the head. You have to actively create it by learning the skills to meet the right kind of women and then bring them into your frame, or else you're just going to be a lonely guy. And then that's going to lead to mental problems, And so I think the key is to connect with others, because if we're not connecting others in a real way, we're going to be mentally, mentally psychotic people. And I think that's
I think that with the situation that's happening now is that, like, I think the reality of the singleness is hitting some of the older women, because a lot of these women are getting their comeuppance, but it's what men and women are both suffering from right now is both of them leaning on transactional relationships,
right,
versus genuine love, genuine compassion.
You have entire books written on as the relationship model to follow, the transactional relationship, the exchange of value. You have to get out of that crap and start to see human beings for human beings and create genuine desire in the person that, if you're a guy, you're creating genuine desire in that woman through your actions and through your behavior and by being attractive and by seducing and by all that kind of stuff. And you take it outside of this transactional exchange. What can I get? What am I offering, and what can I get for what I'm offering? That's a recipe for disaster, the transactional relationship. So, yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my camera on here, so I'm trying to fix it while I'm running the show.
Why I get to be the star of the show. That's cool, though.
Yeah. But, that being said, two parts I want to talk about here real quick. One, how is this going to affect women? Because they're going to continue to be more single as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, well, they're going to turn to their other sources, sex toys, their own sex robots, collecting pets instead of children, all kinds of same dysfunctional things they've been doing. But what's going to happen is, again, you're going to have a subset of women who see these miserable, usually addicted to drugs or alcohol, right? Like they drink 3 or 4 days a week. They're addicted to gross food. They got too many pets. They can't keep a man. They hook up every now and then with a guy they're not proud of. They're going to have a lot of women who see that, who are like, dude, I don't want to live my life like this. This is not the way. You're seeing more of that, so you're going to have both. You're going to have some women that are going to lead into lean into worse behavior. And then you're going to have, I think, a greater subset of women who are turning against that. That's just what you're seeing now, and I think that's going to accelerate. There's going to be more women who are like, women are now like, they want masculine guys. Like, they're like, where's the masculine guys? Where's the guy who's going to stand up? You know what I mean? For himself. Like, where's the guy who's going to know how to be normal? That's another thing. Just being normal, dude. Like, most guys right now, like, can't even text a girl. They can't even DM a girl and sound like a normal person. They all sound like autists, right? Like just like mentally deranged idiots. Like they're just gross in the way that they approach women, dude. Like, ask any girl who's halfway decent looking that has a social media what kind of DMs she's been getting over the last several months. It's not attractive guys. So it's interesting because a lot of guys complain that they can't do well with women because, and I get that, because it's hard to break through the bitch shield nowadays in the United States. But all you have to do right now is just be like a normal guy. Take care of yourself a little bit, take care of your appearance a little bit and your health, and just like be normal. And it's like, oh God, thank you. A guy who's not a bitch. Wow. Oh my God. A man who's just a normal guy who wants to take me on a date instead of sending me a picture of his wiener or whatever. Right. Like, it's never been so easy to get girls, even though it's hard to get girls to marry you because they're kind of fucked up. Right. So it's hard to find a girl that's marriage material is what I mean to say, but it's never been easy to get girls and to start letting them see what life would be like with an actual real man. Like, it's just never been easier, anyways, that's
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to be cameraless. I don't know what my software. Maybe it's Mossad. it's I don't know.
Mossad came in and took out your definitely.
Yeah, who knows, right? Who knows? That being said, man, this is just a wake up call for the guys, because like I'm just telling you right now, it's not gonna get better.
It's not, but it can get good for you, right?
Correct.
To the guy that's listening, you've never had a better time. It's like investing. Like, John, like, you're an investment genius. People don't know, John, that you're a genius. I'm going to tell you, this guy's a genius, dude, when it comes to crypto. I'm just saying, like, I'm just top secret info that this dude, first of all, is actually makes good money and knows what he's doing with his money. And he's a freaking genius when it comes to investing. So that's it. That's behind the scenes info I'm disclosing. But with that though, like, I was going to say, like, it's like, as anybody who knows the basics of investing, when's the best time to buy into a market? When it's crashed and things are low, right? We've had a market crash in terms of dating and relationships. Relationships couldn't be, at an all-time worst right now. Dating is in an abysmal place right now. Now more than ever is the time just to learn a little bit of skills to go out there and meet some women, because the ones that are decent enough to hook up with and to have relationships with, they are starving for a guy who knows the basics of just being a guy date worthy, dude. They're starving for it. Like, and all you have to do is get off the fucking internet and the porn and go to a public place and talk to people and start learning how to do that and come across like a normal, attractive guy. And it's just like, you learn some little things to break through their little bitch shields and stuff. That bitch shield, and to give a little empathy to the women, that bitch shield is there because before they showed up to wherever they're at, they just got 10 DMs from guys sending gross shit, guys bitching them out for not DMing them back, guys sending their wieners. This is what they did. They went on their social media and they saw a bunch of gross messages, and then they go out, and then the guy that approaches them, they're like, I don't know about this guy. You know what I mean? Is he the kind of guy who's going to send me his freaking wiener unsolicited? He's the kind of guy who's going to be a gross incel in my DMs? Like, That's a perception of men right now because they're getting tons of that crap. You learn to break through that and just connect with them on a human to human level. You know, I can teach people to do that. You teach people to do that. It takes 60 seconds of a conversation. And it's like all of a sudden bitch shield's gone. And then they start to be a real person. And some of these chicks are pretty cool when you get that shield away from them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about the fat one with the purple hair who doesn't know her gender and has a septum piercing. I'm talking about halfway decent looking women that go out in decent upscale neighborhoods. You know, they might give you a hard time at first because they're so used to guys being pussies. But as long as you know a little bit of skills to kind of quell that little reaction at first, and you get through that into a 60-second conversation, she might sleep with you that night. If not, you know, at least not that you're looking for that, or she might at least end up on a date with you and actually be a decent chick. It's never been easier, man. I got guys coming into my community. I should probably throw a link. You got guys coming into your masculine empowerment network and they're being successful. Yeah. Guys who go outside and talk to girls. You know what I mean? They're getting into relationships. They're getting girlfriends. They're doing stuff they never realized they could do. And it's never been easier than today. It's like getting in on you know, crypto right before a bull run. You know what I'm saying? So that's my question.
Are you hardwired in or are you on Wi-Fi?
I got Wi-Fi. What's up?
Oh, you kind of glitched out there for that talk. Yeah, pretty bad.
Oh shit.
But it's okay. I think we got the gist of it. But what we're trying to tell you guys is basically self-improvement is mandatory from this point out. You're not going to find the cheat code. She's not going to like you because you pop bottles at the club. She's not going to like you because you're wearing Balenciaga. She's not going to like you because of your position. She's only going to like you for who you are if you do the work to become like an actual high value man. Like you're a guy that she can trust, that a guy with a plan for the future, a guy that has leadership abilities. And one of the most important things you need to be able to say as a leader is the word no. Because as a leader, you stop people from going off into their own destruction, quite frankly. Yeah. And these women too, they need help. They need guidance. They need a strong masculine man. And the problem with all this stuff right now is because the men are weak. All of this is happening because men are weak. Yeah. And, you know, I think this is kind of eye-opening for a lot of people too, because the situation we have right now with Charlie Kirk, it shows that, you know, this has actually been happening more and more. This happened with there were some live streamers having beef in Las Vegas, and they pulled up on each other, and you know, one guy just killed the other guy in broad daylight. You know, so the violence is going to continue, and if you are a weak guy, if you're an incapable guy, the probability of you getting caught up in some situation you can't talk your way out of or pay your way out of is increasing, you know?
Yeah. That's just the biggest thing is logging off. We use the internet to your advantage, not your disadvantage, right? You got to get off and meet people and have real relationships. You got guys with internet beefs shooting each other because they don't see each other as human beings. That's what it boils down to. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got some guy shooting Charlie Kirk. That guy, whoever did this, probably has never spoken to Charlie Kirk at just a human to human level. He's only seen the guy on the internet. And these guys with all these people with their dumb TikToks celebrating his death have only seen the guy on the internet expressing a point of view they don't like. Yeah. They don't see the guy as a human being taking his kids out for ice cream. Do you know what I mean? Like meeting people with different points of view and being human to them and being a nice guy. Like that was the reports I got, is that he was really a good guy to everybody. Whether it's true or not, I've never met him, but that was the reports I got. And these guys on the internet, they don't see that. And you could fall, it's not just leftist. You could fall into this as a conservative too if you don't log off. It doesn't matter what your point of view is. You could fall into tribalism. You demonize other people. You don't see them for their humanness. You gotta break free from. That's your matrix. You got to break free from, right? Yeah. Because that's where your mind is controlled. Your mind is controlled through marketing, through that machine. You got to get off the machine sometimes, you know?
Well, listen, guys, it's been a great episode. Go ahead, check out Paul Benjamin. Type that into any search engine. Paul Benjamin will come up. Paul Benjamin, Apex Mindset. I'm MLD, and we'll be back tomorrow. Peace out, boys.